great pleasure to a truly remarkable television series called Mad About You. How was the series born?
Paul Reiser had done a lot of stand-up material about his life as a married man and his wife, and just found a lot of humor in that. I had known Paul a little bit. We had a mutual, like a friend of a friend, and I had done The Water Dance, and I had done Mr. Saturday Night. I had these two movies coming out, and everybody said they were going to be big, huge hits. Neither of them were. But I thought, well, the last thing I'm going to do is a sitcom. And he called me up and said, would you read this thing? And I was to play my wife, and I was sure it was going to be a great part for him, and I would be the supportive wife. And I said, oh, I'll read it. And I finished it and said, I want to do that. It was just incredibly clear. I thought, I wonder if they know they've written this great, weird, complicated part for this woman. And he and I sat in a room together, also with Danny Jacobson, who was the executive producer of the show, and it was honestly like we had been married for 15 years. It was the strangest thing.
How involved were you with the evolution of that character? Was she there when you arrived, or did she evolve with you?
Both. I mean, what I read on the page excited me and interested me. She was the one who was anxious. She was the one who was kind of all over the place, and he was calming her down. That was rare.
Very rare.
Totally rare.
The man is usually the zany,
yes,
and the woman
she's
is
going,
the
honey.
support
Right.
mechanism.
Right. And the thing that interested me was that it was simple. Basically, what they were interested in pursuing is what I was interested in pursuing, which was what happens between these two people, how hard it is to love another person.
How much of Helen Hunt wound up in Jamie, would you guess?
A lot. Certainly a lot. This incredible process was just sort of born, which is that we would sit around a table and read the episode on a Monday, and we'd rehearse it a little bit, and then we'd sit around this round table, a handful of the writers and me and Paul, and go through it. And then on Tuesday we would rehearse, we would do a run through, and we'd sit there again and say, okay, all the scenes are working except this one, and these 25 different lines that each of us have marked need to be worked on. And we would do it every single day of the week.
When would you shoot?
Fridays, Friday nights.
The famous Fridays in Los Angeles.
That's right. Everybody in town is shooting their sitcom.
Yeah. I have a geographical datum, which is the second of our wonderful coincidences.
I know what that is.
Well, you can see this one coming up Fifth Avenue. Where did the Buckmans live, please?
Across the street from here, right on Fifth Avenue and 12th Street.
And 12th Street. I'd like to know how come you and Paul Reiser worked that incredibly well together.
Part of it is this word that he and I got so allergic to, because everybody asked us about chemistry. We would like wait. We'd wait for someone to say chemistry, and the truth is that was just there. We had a comfort with each other. We made each other laugh. We had the same sensibility and the same vision for what we wanted the show to be. We felt fiercely protective over each other. We got to know each other. It was a crazy amount of time to spend with somebody. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah. Paul comes from a comedy background. How much improvisation was there between the two?
You know, he also, though, I feel like I just have wanted to say, he also studied with Larry Moss. He's an actor, and I always knew that I was working with an actor. He thinks like an actor. Yeah. He prepares like an actor. So it wasn't, it wasn't like working with someone who has done stand-up who's got quite a knack for seeming natural. This is an actor.
There's a show that not only contained, but was, in its entirety, the most remarkable single-shot tour de force, in my opinion, in the history of dramatic or comedic television.
Directed by my dad.
Directed by your father. It was called The Conversation. It was the unbroken, uninterrupted two-shot of you and Paul outside your bedroom in the episode called The Conversation. It went on for 20 minutes without a cutaway, without a commercial. The two of you were up there outside the door of your bedroom. Why were you outside that door?
One of my very best girlfriends was struggling with getting her newborn baby to sleep through the night. And the Ferber method of go and visit your baby and let your baby cry was ripping her to shreds psychically. And I, like any good performer, said, I'm going to make a show about that. And we were all talking about that, as we do. And Victor Levin, who was running our show at that point, decided to write this episode. And we had talked about wanting to do a show in one shot. And this suddenly seemed like the perfect opportunity. So it was the two of us outside the baby's room trying to handle her crying. And we did it in one take.
And if anything had gone wrong,